Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Let me tell you something that I believe a lot of you don't want to hear, and that is staying in a job that you hate is a lot like staying addicted to drugs. And you're not leaving that situation because you're lazy or because you're weak. It's because you've become dependent upon something that's slowly killing you, and you might be terrified of what things will be like if you leave it. And as somebody that has been addicted for a long time, or had been, and has been in recovery for just about 13 years, it'll be 13 years in July 11th since I used anything. When I thought about this, the parallels really started to hit me, and I really felt like this needs to be said because this rings true for me in my experience. And what you're afraid of when you're staying where you are is not pain necessarily, but uncertainty. And when you're addicted, if you've had that experience, the substance is killing you. But quitting feels worse, or at least it feels potentially worse, the pain of withdrawal. And then more terrifying is, what is life going to be like without this substance? Am I going to be able to handle life? Because every day was like trying to get to oblivion so I didn't feel the pain of life. And we start telling ourselves things like, well, I'm going to taper off. It'll take a while, but I'll taper off eventually, which I don't think is a good idea. I'll stop when things settle down, when I get my head together, when I'm a little bit more secure, then I'll stop using. Or I just need to get through today, so maybe I'll quit tomorrow. But right now, I got to get through today because today is hard. And job, you're staying in that crappy job situation, it's the same thing. We start telling ourselves things like, I'll leave when I have a plan, a better job, a real airtight plan that'll really work. Or, it's not that bad. I get through it, but like when I'm home, it's not that bad. It's just work, and it's not who I am, and the rest of my life is it's not that bad. Or it's not forever. I don't have to do this forever because eventually I'll be 75 years old and I can retire maybe or something. Or eventually I'll find a different job or something. And in both cases, what we have is this predictable misery. Both addiction and dead-end jobs just provide this predictable misery, and it feels safer than unpredictable freedom because a lot of times we're afraid of the unknown. What's going to happen if I take this leap? Because you'll choose the devil you know rather than the devil you don't know, to use that tired metaphor. And listen, there's this point you've got to make a decision. And I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow, unless you have lots of money set aside where you can do that. But you have to decide that this current version of your life is no longer acceptable. I had to do that with addiction, and I decided to do that with my job. I can't do this anymore. This is not an acceptable way to live my life. And you have to decide you're willing to trade security, the security of a paycheck, the security of being able to turn yourself off with drugs, the security of a paycheck in this case, for the chance at something better, even if it fails. Because I can't guarantee you that if you start a business or some side hustles, that they will succeed. They might fail. You might have to try several before you find one that makes it. But that's what recovery demands, and that's what reinvention demands as well. That decision that come hell or high water, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to do something different. And, I'm not speaking from on high as somebody that's completely succeeded at that. I'm in the process. I'm deep in the process of reinvention. And, I've pivoted the channel. I'm doing stuff on YouTube. I'm looking around to see if I need to do other things, business or side hustle wise. If this grows slowly, because right now it's growing slowly, looking at renting some rooms out in my house. This very room is probably going to be rented out very soon, so it'll have a different backdrop. Whatever I need to do in order to make it easier for me to get to a place where I don't have to work at this crappy job or another crappy job. And I have my, I'm the captain. And, so you can be the captain. So the path forward might be messy. It's probably be messy. But at least it's going to be yours, that you're not going to die in the system. You made a decision to do something different. And listen, the paycheck might feel safer, but it's not. I mean, jobs just aren't secure anymore. All you have to do is look around and see what's happening like all the time to realize that this is not the 1950s. People don't work at the same company forever, and you could have the rug pulled out from under you at any minute, and that's just reality these days. And if you're afraid to make that leap, because trust me, I've wanted to be, own a business for years, and I've always been petrified of the idea of having that much responsibility. So if you're afraid, that's normal, that's human, but go ahead and move anyway. Do the thing. Because if you just want to do it, if you just get to that point where I've talked about in other videos where you realize this is not cool, I don't like this, that's not enough. You have to take action, even if it's scary. You have to take that first step and the next step and make that decision. This is what I'm going to do. And, because, staying safe, staying in the job you think is safe is not really safe. And it's a predictable misery that's going to keep on giving you the same thing over and over. And one of the things that happened with the drugs is that eventually they stopped working. They stopped getting me to oblivion. And in the job that you hate, you get to that same point where, this is just, maybe it's not, the pay's not even that good anymore. And you realize this is not working for me. And that's when a lot of people wake up. So if you've woken up and decided, I can't do this anymore, great. Now it's time to take some action. And we could talk about that. So tell me what you think. If you've liked this video and have found it helpful, go ahead and like it. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel because that helps out. And I would love to hear your comments and your experiences or your concerns because, we're all in this together, more or less. Have a good one, kids.